Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1083B, and today's date is September 23rd, 2016, and the title of the episode is, The Elite Are Ready to Create Chaos Across America. Let's get into the economic collapse, political, and geopolitical news. Now, we understand that the U.S. government, corporations, big pharma, they want to control the people. And they don't want people to make decisions on what they're allowed to do. For instance, the Zika virus. Let's take that for example. In Miami, Florida, they're just spraying this insecticide all over the place, which is toxic. It's banned in Europe. But the problem is that people don't have a say in the spraying of this toxic chemical. Now, this is a violation of your rights because you did not give consent to be sprayed with this chemical. Now, we know in the past there were chemicals that were used and sprayed, and it turns out that they had very harmful effects later on. We know that vaccines have very harmful effects. And just to let everyone know, coming up tomorrow, Saturday, I did an interview with Brandy Vaughn. She was in the movie documentary Vaxxed, and she talks about vaccines, and she goes through the entire system. She worked for Big Pharma, and she breaks it down of what they're trying to do. They're trying to control the people. They're trying to take your rights away from you. And this is something that everyone should be listening to. So tomorrow morning, I will have this up on the X22 Report Spotlight YouTube channel, and everyone can view it right there. Or you can come over to the x22report.com site, and you can view it on the website. All you have to do is scroll down a little bit, look over to your right-hand side, and you'll see it there. But we can see right now that the states, the federal government, they are passing different bills to force you to put something into your body, and you can't say no. California, they have SB 277, and we see that Congress right now, there is a bill floating around saying that every single child and adult will be vaccinated. The CDC just got more power, where they can take you and they can bring you someplace else. They can separate you from the public, and they have the right, at least this is what they say, to inject you and to do whatever they need to do to make you better, even if you say no. And we can see right now, this is exactly what Big Pharma, the United States government, the elite, the neocons, this is what they want. They want a controllable public. They don't want people making decisions. They don't want people to have rights. And we can see right now, it's already started. And what's very interesting, there was a video released showing that now on airplanes, when you're flying, they're spraying insecticides while the people are sitting on the airplane. And they're spraying a toxic insecticide called diphenhydramine, and it shows the stewardess, the flight attendant, holding the can. Of course, she has like tissues around it. She doesn't want to touch the poison, spraying it while the people are sitting on the plane. Now, this chemical is toxic if it's eaten, breathed in, applied to the skin, and people sometimes have problem breathing. They get nauseous, vomiting, throat irritation, headaches, and they don't even know the long-term effect of all of this. And we can see what is happening here. They're creating a vaccine for Zika. They're giving more power to the CDC. They're testing out the laws in certain states like California, where it's required for children to go to school. They need all their vaccines. You can't make the decision anymore. They also have other bills where they're saying any adult that is working in the healthcare industry, they also have to be vaccinated. Then what they're going to do is they're going to say anyone that goes for a job needs to be vaccinated. And then what's going to happen is everyone needs to be vaccinated. And the federal government also has these same bills. So you will not be able to choose what goes into your body or what doesn't go into your body. And this is what the government, big pharma, corporations want. Because when they have control of this, they can keep you sick, they can keep you on the drugs, they can keep their medical industry operating. If you notice, they really don't cure anything anymore. They just have Band-Aid fixes for everything. And this is about keeping their system alive. And it's much easier when the law states you must do what we say. Because if you have a choice, most people are going to say, you know something, I don't want that right now. Now, we can see in Charlotte, this is a whole different situation. We're seeing that the elite are trying to create some type of race war. And you have to remember, this is started out as a peaceful protest, just like in Ferguson. And then we have those individuals that come in, they're stealing, they're looting, they're physically attacking reporters, they're throwing rocks off bridges, they're shooting people, beating up innocent people. This is not how you have a protest. Actually, this has nothing to do with protesting. This is what they call trying to gin something up by getting everyone to join in. And what's very interesting is that Todd Walther, a spokesman for the Charlotte Mecklenburg Fraternal Order of Police, said that the people that are out there, they're not even from here. They're outsiders. And they're coming in here and causing these problems. It's not the protesters. It's not the peaceful people. It's the other people that don't even live here. And he said there was probably about 70% of those people who are doing all of it, well, they have out-of-state IDs. Now, why would they do this? We know why. This is all part of George Soros's plan. This is part of a plan to try to create a race war, to have the police federalized, to cause chaos in the U.S. And we realized that they didn't want to release the video of the shooting. But a family member said, you know what, enough's enough. They released the video of what happened. And it looks like this man was mentally disturbed. He was on medication. She kept on saying he did not have a gun. He doesn't have a gun. He's sitting in a car. But the police, they just opened fired. They opened fired and he died. Now, I remember way back, police never drew their weapon unless someone drew a weapon and was firing upon them. Otherwise, they used other methods. I mean, in this instance, they could have used a taser gun. They could have used some other method. And the woman in the background who was filming the whole thing saying he does not have a gun, he has no weapon, he just took his medication, looks like he wasn't really listening. And we can see right now, they didn't want to release this because it wouldn't go with their agenda of creating this entire riot type of atmosphere. And they're hoping to spread this across the country. They want chaos, especially now as we approach the elections, as the economy declines, as they lose their footing in the Middle East. They want chaos now. Now, out in Ukraine, we can see things, well, they're starting to heat up. We understand that Congress is allowing lethal weapons to be brought into Ukraine right now. Joe Biden is out there, and he's saying, listen, Europe is getting ready to walk away from the sanctions against Russia unless Ukraine makes progress with its economic and political reforms. And we can see the United States right now, they are very nervous that Europe is going to drop the sanctions with Russia. You have to remember, the trade between Russia and the EU, their trade dollar amount went from $417 billion in 2013 to only $235 billion last year. And it's continually declining. And the EU is saying, listen, we can't handle this anymore. We need to get rid of these sanctions. But the U.S. is continually putting pressure on their allies, forcing them to keep these sanctions alive. German businesses, they're looking to do business with Crimea and Russia, projects worth about 250 million euro. Now, we know that the United States does not want this to happen. Kiev does not want this to happen. So we can see Ukraine right now, well, they're redeploying military equipment to the border of Crimea. And we can see they're continually shelling the southeastern section. And to stop all of this, we can see they're going to attempt once again, once, of course, they get those lethal weapons from the United States, they will make their move and have this major offensive. They tried it already. They're going to try again. We see South Korea elite troops, well, they're standing by to assassinate Kim Jong-un if South Korea feels threatened. So we have many things occurring all at once. We have the United States and South Korea. They're training to capture a nuclear facility. The United States is looking to have regime change in North Korea. South Korea has their elite troops training to assassinate Kim Jong-un. It looks like they're trying to provoke North Korea here. It looks like they're getting ready to make a move. Whatever they have to do to get North Korea to do anything, it looks like they're willing, they're able, and they're ready to do it. We see out in Libya, well, the situation is not doing well. The UN Libyan government, the unity government, well, they don't have control of the ports. And this is going to be the key source of income to support that government. And we can see the eastern government in Libya, the elected government, who has control of the ports, well, they're not handing it over. Now, of course, the UN, the U.S., they're citing the UN Security Council Resolution 2278, which condemns the attempt to export crude oil from Libya, not going through the unity government. And we see right now what they're really doing is they're saying, listen, you know, the elected government there, you're not allowed to export any oil, and you definitely can't sell that oil using other currencies. So we can see the U.S. is getting very, very nervous. And we can see right now that most likely, as things rapidly deteriorate there, more and more ground troops are going to be entering that area. The coalition forces will be entering. The U.S. and the coalition forces right now, they're preparing to have an all-out war in the Middle East because they're losing complete control. We see Turkish troops and armored NATO vehicles. Well, they've been active in the Operation Euphrates Shield. And we can see right now that Turkey, they want to bring in more troops into the area. We see there's portions of the leaked document between Russia and U.S. Now, there's 5 documents, but only one has been leaked out. Actually, the U.S. government didn't release it. It was actually leaked. Remember, the U.S. government doesn't want anyone to see this stuff because it shows that the United States right now is supporting the terrorist groups. And John Kerry actually came out and said it when he was talking to the press. He's saying that the U.S. demands on Syria is that they cannot attack al-Nusra or al-Qaeda. And Kerry argued at the UN that it would be impossible to separate Washington's moderates from al-Qaeda while al-Qaeda was under attack, which doesn't even make sense. Wouldn't it seem more logical to argue that the threat of being bombed alongside al-Qaeda would be the greatest incentive for the moderate rebels to separate themselves from al-Qaeda as soon as possible? Wouldn't you think Washington would say, listen, you moderate rebels, you're getting bombed right now. Why don't you take a break and remove yourself from there so we can keep you intact. That would make more sense. But instead, Washington argues that because its moderates refuse to separate from al-Qaeda, the Russians in Syria must stop attacking al-Qaeda. They spin everything around. I mean, really think about it. You're in a crowd of people, and someone continually, is throwing rocks at you. Wouldn't it be in your best interest to separate yourself so you don't get hit? Well, that's all they have to do. And that's all Russia has been telling them. That's all you have to do. But we know why they don't want to do it. And they're using every excuse that they can think of. Because the moderate rebels, al-Qaeda, al-Nusra, the Islamic State, it's all the same. That is the moderate rebels. Which they're not moderate at all. They're terrorists. Now, Turkey is out there and they're saying, listen, we could start resettling all the Syrian refugees from the tent camps in the Turkish territory back to their country if a safe zone was created. Erdogan saying this would be the perfect opportunity right now. We just cleared out this entire area. Why don't we say this is a safe zone? We'll let the Syrians leave Turkey and we can set up the tents in this safe zone and we can guard them. And this way they don't have to be in Turkey. They'll be back in their own country. This has been the plan from the start. This is why the U.S. is out there and they're trying to get this no-fly zone. The U.S. is in Syria telling the Syrian government they're not allowed to fly planes in their own country, in this area. That doesn't even make sense. Actually, the Syrian government should say to the United States, get out. And we see right now that why do they want the no-fly zone? Well, what do the terrorists have? Well, they have machine guns, they have mortars, they have everything but planes. And this is their weakness. This is why they're telling Syria and Russia, no-fly zone over the terrorist groups. This way they don't have to worry about being destroyed. Everything would have to be done on the ground. Plus, they would designate an area saying this is a no-fly zone, safe zone, which they can launch and train and attack Damascus and get Assad. This is what they wanted from the beginning. Nothing has changed. The goal is still the same. Now, we can see right now the corporate media, they are playing up the propaganda for this upcoming war. I see in Business Insider, it's becoming clear that the West cannot restrain Russia. And what they're doing right now is they're building this up, saying that Russia is the wild one. Russia can't be restrained. Actually, it's the opposite. Russia has been trying to make peace, trying to say we don't need to have this war. And what's happening right now, I think Russia is starting to realize that there's no way to make peace with the U.S. They don't keep their promises. They lie, and they will never go along with any peace deal, ceasefire deal whatsoever. And I'm not talking about the people of the United States. I'm talking about the neocons, the elite, the central banks. They don't want peace. They want what they want, and they'll continually on that track until they get it, even if it means a nuclear war. And we see a retired Green Beret warns that we haven't been this close to a nuclear war in a very long time. And he's saying there's 4 major flashpoints right now that could easily escalate and ignite this entire world into a nuclear war. And he lists them. Of course, it's Syria, South China Sea, Ukraine, North and South Korea. And there is a slow buildup and preparation of the media to paint Russia as the aggressor, as the country that's going to spark this nuclear war. And we can see right now, this is the main push. So what are we seeing right now? We're seeing the elections. They're coming up very quickly. Chaos, throughout the country. This is what they're trying to push. For whatever reason, most likely to postpone these elections. We see they're trying to blame everything on Russia. We're seeing these hacks, which they're blaming on Russia. So when we start to put all this together and we watch this through October, we're going to see a huge event. And we can see right now that they've been planning this behind the curtain. And they've been planning this for quite a while. Because they've always looked at what's going on, they realize what's happening, and they set different plans in motion. And if one doesn't work out, they go to the next. So you know they already have something that's planned, that's ready to go. And most likely, they're going to use it this October. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.